Welcome to War Thunder with Subdude. How y'all doing today? Well, I want to talk a little bit about maps, missions, and everything else that's going on with the game at this time that basically Gaijin is throwing under the bus. In the background, I'm going to be playing one of the recent matches I had with the BF 110G-2, which is the best bomber killer at its level. And somebody will say, no, it's not. Well, yes, it is. It is a fabulous bomber killer. But that's neither here nor there. Right now, Gaijin has basically said they do not care about air realistic anymore. They have been pulling elements out of matches for 5 years. Now, what is an element? An element is a piece of the match that you can interact with. In this case, I'm talking about AI units. Sicily map, good example. Back in the day, there used to be 6 observer planes. 3 German BF-110s, 3 British Beaufighters. Were they absolutely necessary to win the match? No. They were just a nice little addition in there to, well, if you were a noob player, it allowed you to learn how to shoot. And it gave you something to do to climb to 17,000 feet. Well, then the screams of "Climb Thunder" resonated off the ears of the people at Gaijin, and they took them out. Which basically meant an element was removed from the game. Bastogne used to have a flight of 9 B-17s, flying at 13,000 feet. That element was removed because reasons. The Germans were able to climb up to that altitude quickly and engage the bombers before the Allies could get up there and intercept. Now they scuffed around the edges on that one quite a bit by giving the various planes a climb rate that was absolutely obscene to allow Allied teams a chance to have somebody up there to protect the bombers. Okay, that's fine. And there's a B-34 that just dies like a fool. But that's what I'm talking about. Gaijin has dumbed down maps and taken objectives off the field. Now it's still fine for low tier. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and some of Tier 4. But the rest of Tier 4 and all of Tier 5, the objectives are all gone. Now somebody's going to say, well, what do you mean they're gone? No, they're gone. There's no reason to fly any of those matches. And the reason there's no reason to fly is because any of the matches are basically team deathmatch. Not everyone wants to play G8 and his battle aces and be, the number one killer of the sky. No, sometimes it's more satisfying to see if you can eliminate as many ground targets as possible. Matter of fact, I'm pretty darn good at that. And I like doing that. And I prefer to do that over trying to deal with enemy fighter pilots who not only have the whipsaw reflexes of a snake on acid, but they just, you know, sorry, I'm an old guy. I really don't have the same reflexes that you kids do. And that's not an apology. That's a fact. Now, you're probably wondering why I came back to the airfield after just one quick little go up and kill the bomber. Well, that's because that was the only bomber. So, I brought my plane back to kind of wait out the mission to see what's going to happen. And at this point, I will pause it so that we can pick it up on the other side when I take off. Okay, we're back. Now, the fact that Gaijin is taking elements out of the game and have been taking elements out of the game for the past 5 years. Now, yeah, they've occasionally added elements in and then removed them afterwards. A good example of that is the Ruhr map. The Ruhr map, they added in the element of a flight of ducks coming in to do ground attack. And then they pulled it. Why? What was so wrong? And that's been their modus operandi for a long time. They put elements in, pull them out. And when they pull them out, they basically cheapen the game. I love this game. I love to play this game. Playing this game is probably my most guilty pleasure of all. And trust me, I'm old enough to have had plenty of guilty pleasures. But to sit down and spend 5 years playing a game, and sometimes I will put in 3 to 4 matches an evening, sometimes more. Weekends, I was putting in a lot more. And the reason I was putting it in, is because it gave me enjoyment. And then I got up into battle rating 8 and 9 aircraft. And I was starting to realize that the matches that I was being forced to play weren't that fun. And the reason they weren't fun is because either one, the map was too small, or two, the elements of the map were situated in such a way that you couldn't go for the elements of the map. You were forced to actually go into combat against the other team rather than an objective in the match. And this has been Gaijin's way of doing business for the past 5 years. And it hasn't gotten any better whatsoever since tanks came out. As a matter of fact, it's gotten worse since tanks have come out. And it's gotten worse, even worse, with ships. Now, some of you are probably going, what do you mean? Tanks are great. Tanks are wonderful. Ships are great. Ships are wonderful. No. Tanks and ships are both arcade. Yeah, somebody's gonna go, but they're they're realistic and simulator. No, 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 no. Realistic and simulator are one life per match in air. In tanks and boats, it's all arcade all the time because you have multiple lives. That, my friends, is bad. Well, it's not bad if you like arcade. I don't particularly like arcade. You're welcome to arcade if that's what you play. I really can't stand arcade. Now, air realistic or air arcade is unrealistic flight models that where you can't stall, you can't burn your engine up, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, in tanks, arcade is basically unrealistic damage models and markers on everything. Well, realistic is you take the markers away from the enemy. And simulator is you take all the markers away. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And ships, when you get 2 lives in a ship, oh, please. This is why I don't like any of the other modes. And as a result, I'm not going to spend any money on this game anymore. I've said that before and then retreated from that and purchased things like Golden Eagles and packs and this, that, and the other thing, and this time I'm done. I'm done. I'm absolutely over it. I've spent too much money on this game for them to continue not producing better gameplay. And they've really hurt gameplay in Air Realistic. And they've hurt gameplay in Simulator Air. And the way they've done that is by taking objectives out of the matches. And removing some matches altogether. Alternate history Spain, gone. Moscow, never put in except for one weekend. One weekend. Gaijin has really done its job on destroying the portion of the game that got them started. They didn't start with tanks and they didn't start with ships, they started with aircraft. Because that was a portion of the game that they already had partly built. It was in another game called Birds of Prey. It was an excellent little game that they pulled pieces out of and put into War Thunder, which was an expansion of Birds of Prey. And then it just got silly. And they've dumbed down the game to the point where it's nothing but team deathmatch. And somewhere along in here, you're going to watch a plane go zipping through the screen as the last enemy fighter crash dives into the ground. And I thought that was absolutely hysterical when he did that, because I wasn't trying to avoid him. I didn't even see him until he went zipping through the screen. There he goes. Boom! He died. Now he may have been out of gas, but that was just funny. But that's all I've got for you today. This is the last kill, and this is Subdude signing off. Y'all have a pleasant today, a better tomorrow, and we'll catch you in the skies. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.